All right, my name is Ryan Miller, and I am the proprietor of Sonar Wizards. And what you see before us is a very mangled Garmin LVS32 sonar, live sonar unit. And I got this in the mail today from a gentleman down in Texas, and he had attempted a repair and was unsuccessful. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit, how to repair, what to know, important tools before you start your repair on your LVS32 or LVS34. These can also transfer into Hummingbird and Lowrance products as well. But you know what we really see here on this bench is a probably a lack of the proper tools to get here. And the devil is in the details here when we're gonna solder 24 gauge wire. And if we take a big honking pair of wire strippers to these, and that was what happened here, you're going to see a 1-inch sort of strip. And, once you get down that path, you've kind of gone too far, and frustration will set in, and then, quickly the project that you thought you would finish in an afternoon on your workbench turns into what you have before me. And so I thought that it's probably best to make a video about best practices. This is repairable by most people with some soldering skills. If you've never picked up a soldering iron before, this might not be the best first project for you. But if you're capable with a soldering iron, then this project is doable. But I think it's important to really know the details of what you're getting into. So when we look at Garmin units in particular, and again we're going to just focus on the LVS 32 and 34 today. They're very similar units. What we see here is just the outer sleeving, and then we have basically our foil shielding on the outside. And when we strip this wire back, and you can see I did this one earlier today. This is just a spare piece of wire, but this is really what we should look for. And if we're stripping this back and seeing a bunch of damage, then it's probably time to go ahead and start over. But I wanted to talk about some of the methods that can be used for repair. And the last thing that we really want to use are these butt connectors here. And these are heat gun solder connectors, and I personally do use some of them when I wire a boat, or some in very dry, hard to get to areas. And these do work. These are made in China, and but they really don't work well here repairing transducer wires. And the reason is work hardening of the wire afterwards. If we were just repairing, say you've got one, just one red wire that got pinched or cut, we might not want to take apart this whole unit. And so we could, in theory, come in with a Raychem butt connector and just butt splice one wire. These are professional splices, And again, they're made by Raychem. They're primarily used in the aircraft industry. Red is the right size, right color for the 24 gauge wire we're dealing with in the Garmin units. And we need really a specialty tool to apply these. And so this is a pair of ratcheting crimpers with the right size red thing. They're about, I think, about 80 bucks today. The really nice ones go all the way up to 300, but these are, you know, a pretty reasonable option if you're just going to splice one wire instead of cutting the whole cable. And so if you've just got, you know, one of your wires here that are damaged, you can certainly come in and use one of these Raychems and splice up and maybe use some liquid electrical tape. Keep in mind these are sealed connectors, butt splice connectors, so you know, we wouldn't be doing that for waterproof. We're just doing it for insulation purposes. And then come back over with, say, you know, an outside, you know, a piece of heat shrink that was in the 1.3, like a 6-to-1 heat shrink is what we have here. And as a final product to repair this, and that would work. And you know, you'll probably have you know, around $120 in a repair, not including pliers. You know, one thing I see, and this is pretty frequent, you know, going after a 24 gauge wire with you know, a pair of Harbor Freight wire strippers is probably not the most solid idea. You know, it really takes a pair of precision wire strippers. We use the Excel-Lite SAS3210 here in our shop, and these are pretty straightforward. Most of these have been stripped, but I'll grab one here and just kind of demonstrate. You know, we can kind of pull these apart, and hopefully you can see this. Come in here and just pop, you know, go ahead and pop, you know, about an 1/8 inch off the end, so we can get a good either connection or preferably a solder joint in here. And you know, we're gonna do just one wire at a time, and we use, you know, a helping hand. We'll grab one off the bench here, similar to this. We're gonna, you know, hold these just like this, you know, and we're gonna either solder, most of the time solder. We very seldomly use a butt splice, and it's just the ability to be able to solder the excess. We're going to be in there anyway, and so we're going to do, you know, fix however many wires. If we get more than about 3 or 4 wires that are broken, we're going to go ahead and cut and solder the whole thing. And that's just a question of space in the end. You know, the less wires that we can cut, the better. Obviously, you know, we retain factory wiring is the best case scenario. But that is not an option all of the time. And so, you know, one of the big mistakes I see on the solder end is, you know, when I watch people, what we see is really a diameter of solder that's far too big. And so this is a great example of, you know, solder that's far too large to splice wires with. You know, this, and it's probably hard to tell the differential of the diameter, but this 24 gauge wire is like, I think 019, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me in the comments, please. And, you know, typically what we use here, we'll use a very high high quality German-made solder that's around 20 thousandths. And I'll leave, of course, an affiliate link below to the tools that we use here at Sonar Wizards. And again, this is just, a piece of the coil example. But this is a much closer diameter to the wire that we're using. And when we get too far out of diameter, what we have is a heat differential that doesn't work. And so, we want to be below the diameter of the wire with our solder, just in general. And so the other thing that's important, is to be able to really keep this shielding in good shape. And that is just really attention to detail and carefulness. And, we just pull one set of wires out at a time, and then we will solder them. And we will use just a general cheap Chinese, and this is, of course, we'll cut this down, but just a very cheap, heat shrink. This is 2-to-1 ratio. And I want to say, if I remember right, this is an 1/8, but don't quote me to that. And we'll come over, just a splice, and not for any water sealing purposes, but just for insulation. And then we'll come back in with that original piece of shielding, and we'll wrap those two wires back together, really inside of that original tubing. And sometimes that gets damaged, and we'll use a 1/4 inch aluminum shielding to replace it, but generally speaking, there's no need for us to do that, because we're going to put back what was originally there. We're using a heat shrink just as insulation, the original insulation that was on the wire, and then we're going to go back with the shielding that Garmin has provided us on the side. So once we're done, and this is something we need to think of generally beforehand, the question becomes, what do we use to seal this unit? How are we going to make these connections that weren't there in the wire watertight for 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, etc.? And with the thought process that this is going to be left outside on boats for many years. And so the heat shrink that we use here at Sonar Wizards is, again, it's we start with a 1.3 to 0.220. This is a 6-to-1 heat shrink. I've also got some 5 to 7 to 1, depending on the project and exactly which model. But this stuff is pretty expensive. It's about I want to say right now about $60 for a 48-inch stick. But what we get is really our money's worth. Keep in mind, this is the only thing that's really going to keep our protection, our connection watertight. And so I've got what you just saw was here again, and this is what it looks like when it's after it's been shrank by heat gun. And I would point out that the wall thickness here is the important part for us here. And so there are a lot of different heat shrink options. Some people use this as an option, and you can kind of see that this is pretty flimsy stuff. This in a longer roll, or comes on a roll. It's usually flat, and it comes on a roll. And you know, that roll, you know, when this shrinks down, it just doesn't have a very good wall thickness, and so it's pretty flexible. And if we needed flexibility in our system on the repair, then it might be a better option. But you know, we want the opposite of that, and I've kind of, you know, done a section here. This is a little bit, this is a 4-to-1, and so we've left some room in here for an excess wire. But you know, we can kind of see the wall thickness here is pretty good. And what this is this part is really stiff, and we want a really stiff connection here. And we want to keep everything inside this. Not only do we want to keep it watertight, we can see that this is a glued connection, so it's watertight, would be FAA, you know, certifiable. But you know, we want it to also not do a ton of back and forth, because what will happen in that solder joint is we'll work harden it. And obviously this this transducer unit is going to spin round and round on your trolling motor or whatever, you know, other device you have out there to aim your Livescope unit. And you know, that work hardness is going to make that connection fail. And so, you know, by using a really good heat shrink tubing, you know, we're going to prevent that premature failure, and it should last. So this is UV stable for us. Again, this stuff is out. This heat shrink is out of the aircraft industry, same as the butt connectors that we talked about earlier, and it's UV stable. And we also use an outer cable protector, just, you know, really for looks rather than for protection. This is going to give us all the protection that we need, but we, you know, this kind of I don't have a complete one on my desk yet this morning, but this looks okay. It's just doesn't look pretty, and of course we want our work to look good. And so we'll clean this whole unit up today. We'll splice these back to 0 and start over, and you know, we'll get more of a product that looks like this, and then put all this back together in one neat soldered bundle. And you can do this too at home. You know, that having the right tools. We solder at around 600 degrees, and you know, I'll leave a couple of the you know, the original soldering irons that I started with when I first started doing this. Obviously the first one I did was for myself. I ruined a brand new GT54 transducer, you know, years back, and you know, really just didn't like the price to replace it. And there really was not a lot of people out there in the market that was offering a repair service. And there's a couple of us today, and I think that you know, the guys who are out there doing it professionally, for the most part anyway, do a pretty good job, at least what I've seen. You know, we think that you know, our work, you know, the quality of materials that we use kind of stand above the rest, and it's one of the reasons that we, you know, warranty our repairs for 1 year. If it fails at the repair, you know, for 1 year after purchase or repair from us, then we repair that at no charge, no additional charge to the customer. You just have to send it back to us, and we'll repair it and send it back. And you know, so far I don't think I haven't repaired a single unit after we've got some repairs that are out there quite a long time. And so, you know, some forethought will get you a long way. The right tools, you know, will definitely get you a long way down the road towards fixing your unit. If you guys want to see us fix a unit that looks like this from scratch, leave a comment down in the link or down in the comment box below. And if I get enough people interested, we'll kind of go through the soldering method that we use here at Sonar Wizards to repair these units. And of course, if you don't feel like you can repair your unit, you're welcome to give us a call. You can reach us at email at info@sonarwizards.com. You can find us on the web at www.sonarwizards.com. You can find us on eBay and Etsy, and we're out there. It's a pretty affordable repair service, and we turn it around usually 1 to 2 business days at the max. If you've got a tournament coming up, please let us know and what your tournament date is, and we can make arrangements to make sure that unit gets back to you on time. We do test our units. We test the Lowrance units. Takes me a little longer. We have a full Garmin suite of electronics in house, and so if you send us a Garmin unit, you're going to get it back fully tested. We're working on the ability to test the Hummingbird unit. Right now, we're not finding a ton of those out on the market. They seem to be a little bit behind Lowrance and Garmin image quality wise. I've only had the opportunity to repair one, and it just happened to be one of the guys in our fishing club. But in any account, feel free to reach out, ask questions. We're here to help. We want you guys to get a successful repair, and if you guys can't come to a successful repair, please reach out. We'd be happy to help if you can. Thank you.